is happening?
We have some major news to discuss in the world of paddle bans, as USA Pickleball has announced a list of paddles that are set to be delisted or sunset in the middle of 2025. We'll discuss the official statement, what paddles have been affected, what official statements have been made by the companies affected so far, and of course, why you should care if you're an impacted consumer. So, without further ado, we've got a lot to talk about, and let's dive in. Looking at USA Pickleball's official statement, they begin by outlining the actual test that was failed by these paddles to receive this soon-to-be delisted or sunset status, and this was the paddle ball coefficient of restitution test. The PB Core test was introduced into certification testing by USA Pickleball in Q4 of this year, and is essentially a measure of trampoline effect, which is how a paddle deforms upon ball contact and then returns to its original shape post-contact. Trampoline effect is a major factor of how fast a ball comes off a paddle, but it's important to note that this test is essentially a deflection test, not necessarily a power test. Regardless, USA Pickleball limits coefficient of restitution to, quote, ensure fair play and maintain the competitive balance of the sport. It's essentially just a limit to how hot paddles can get. And USA Pickleball goes on to list the paddles that are set to be delisted or sunset July 1st of 2025. This includes the not super popular Pro Kennex Black Ace models, the originals, the very popular Gearbox Pro Power Elongated, and the somehow even more popular Yola Mod TA 15s in both thicknesses. What's really important to note here is that these paddles are being sunset for official USA Pickleball sanctioned tournament play. What that means is that playing any tournament that isn't officially sanctioned by USA Pickleball or just recreationally is totally fine for using these paddles. Other than the obvious result here, which is that you can't use these paddles in USA Pickleball tournaments in the future, it feels like there's a few other points that need to get scrutinized here. First is that the word trampoline effect feels very intentional in its usage by USAP here. As OG players will remember, trampoline effect is a characteristic of paddles that was officially banned in years past, and this feels like their subtle way of covering their tracks and trying to phase that back in. The second and more obvious thing is the clear popularity of the paddles involved. Outside of the Pro Kennex paddles, a lot of players will see that at super high levels of advanced amateur play, we are completely saturated with Gen 3 paddles like the Mod TA 15s, like the Gearbox paddles, and others that are similar. And so this is a huge win for people that want to see these power paddles banned from the sport in general, and it's a major statement by USA Pickleball that is actually going to impact a significant number of people. And the third thing I noted here was the date of the sunset in relation to when this announcement was made, which you'll notice is only about 6 months apart. See, in USA Pickleball's handbook, they state that delisting and efforts to phase paddles out of the market is an 18-month-long process. I've spoken with representatives from Yola and Gearbox who both state that this is an ongoing discussion that's occurring with USA Pickleball, and so it's definitely something to note here that we could see the timeline of this sunsetting extended a little bit. Now, the first of these companies to publicly respond to USA Pickleball's announcement is Yola. In a complete turnaround in comparison to Yola's response to the delisting of the OG Gen 3 paddles, Yola has officially announced that they will be ceasing production and completely retiring the Yola Mod 15 TA models. They state that the decision is part of Yola's commitment to uphold and meet the current industry standards. This is a major blow to the public trust of Yola, in my opinion. It's insane that 7 months ago, we were sitting in this same situation, and Yola's response was exactly the same, stating that they're trying to uphold the highest standards of the current industry, and yet here we are again. What I also think is interesting here is how Yola takes the time in this statement to officially announce their new line of Pro 4 Series paddles that'll be coming out in March of 2025, and these will meet both USAP and UPAA standards. We have seen this rodeo before, and doesn't seem like great timing to me. However, my interest is still piqued, and I'll make sure that I get my hands on those for you guys as soon as possible. So if you own a mod TA, you're obviously assuming that you're going to be able to get your return on investment for this delisted paddle. And you would be kind of right. Yola states that if you buy a mod from November 1st, 2024 through March 1st, 2025, you'll be eligible to receive a 50% discount on their Pro 4 Series paddles through their paddle refresh program, which does not require you to return your original paddle. The refresh program is running from mid-March through the end of April, which does align with their intended launch timeline for the Pro 4 Series paddles. But whether or not 50% is a sufficient return for your purchase of the mod paddle is something that I struggle to see. That's pretty much all we have officially in writing so far from the 3 companies affected, but there is one more thing that I want to mention. A few days ago when I arrived home from vacation, there was a mystery box waiting for me from Gearbox that I wasn't expecting. And without giving away too much from what I'll share in my unboxing video, what was inside can only be described as a product that would have cannibalized the Pro Power Elongated anyways. And so it's really interesting for me to see that both Black Ace and Gearbox are coming out with new paddles that would have cannibalized old paddles that are now delisted. Well, that's pretty much everything we know about what's going on with these paddle bans so far. But before I let you go, I have an announcement to make about the next episode of Breaking News in Pickleball, which is already in progress. Remember that video I made a few days ago with regards to the boycott currently being partaken in by major pickleball companies to UPAA's fees and Pro Tour use? Well, I've been given exclusive access to the email sent by UPA in response to the boycott demands, and the solutions are completely different than anything I would have expected. So if you want to stay informed, make sure you like this video to support the channel, subscribe so you know when that video comes, and for the time being, comment down below what your thoughts are on the paddle bans and maybe some predictions for what you think that email from UPA is going to say. But with all that said, I hope you all stay happy and healthy and, of course, out on the courts until the next video. Oh, and Paddle of the Year Awards coming December 31st, in case any of you were wondering. Peace.